I'm Mitchell Williams with Lee County Cooperative Extension. I'm the row crops and livestock agent and pesticide coordinator here in the county. And today I'm with John Gross. He's a pretty good sized farmer in Lee County, and he's got a pretty diverse farm. And we just wanted to talk with John and learn more about his operation.
We're a row crop farm, and we also do a corn, maize, and pumpkin patch. We started in 1983, and we do pick your own strawberries also, but I started in 1983. I was in the 11th grade, and started full-time the next year as soon as I graduated from high school. And we farm about 1,500 acres total, about a little over 300 of that being in tobacco, Fluke-Ear tobacco. That's still our main source of income on the farm. We do a few soybeans and rye. We do a few pumpkins. We do about 10 acres of pumpkins, along with the corn, maize, and the hay rides and everything. And in the spring we do strawberries.
What's your favorite crop that you grow?
Probably our favorite crop is tobacco. It's our main money maker, but the tobacco is what we enjoy growing the most. It's a lot less. Things have changed a lot since we started years ago, but it's still the crop we love dealing with and growing.
Well, I know you've got quite a few family members here on the farm. Who all works with you that's in your family?
My wife, she looks after the produce barn and a big part of the corn, maize, and pumpkin patch, and a lot of the regular day-to-day bookkeeping and stuff on the farm. My daughter helps out. My oldest daughter and my youngest daughter helps out some on the farm. And my two sons, they're here on the farm full time now. My youngest son just started this past spring,
Okay.
Full time. So we're lucky to have several family members in the operation that kind of spread out the workload.
That's good. It's good to see family farms like that working all together. Well, tell me a little bit about what a regular day would be for you, if there is such a thing.
It depends on what time of the year it is, but usually it starts around 5:36, sometimes earlier, during the spring and summer and fall. But it just depends on what we're doing and what time of the year it is. If we're planting tobacco, we start as soon as we can see in the mornings and go to after dark some days. And if it's in the early part of the spring, it's not quite that many hours, but it's full-time job. It's usually from daylight to dark, at least 6 days a week, sometimes 7.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have farming in your blood, you don't need to be doing it. You need to find another occupation because you got to love it to do it. It's not for the money.
Could you ever see yourself doing anything other than farming?
No, I never was interested in anything else. I've got some heavy equipment that I run for myself. I like running it, but farming has just been in my blood, and I've been doing it now for a long time.
Well, we're in the late part of June right now, going into July. What's going on the farm right now?
We started spraying tobacco this morning, and we'll start topping tomorrow. We'll be harvesting probably in about 3 more weeks, at least 3 weeks. It's going to be a late crop this year because of all the cold weather we've had and the rains that we've had has put the crop way behind. But hopefully the rain will hold off and give the good Lord to give us the right amount, and we'll make a good crop this time.
Well, going back to your strawberries, tell me a little bit about that. How does that work? When do you plant those, and when do you start selling them?
We usually plant them in the first week or two of October, depending on what kind of plants we put in the ground, whether they're plug plants or cutoffs out of California. And we'll look after them through the winter, and we usually start around the middle of April selling strawberries, and it'll run till about the first week in June, somewhere thereabouts. But we closed up, I think, Saturday before last, I believe it was, for this year. We do a lot of pick your own, but with the virus this year, we didn't let anybody in the patch. We didn't want our workers getting, we wanted to reduce their exposure to the public, because if all of our workers would have got sick, we'd have had to shut down the whole operation, and we wouldn't have had any help to get our tobacco crop in the ground.
Well, walk us through a typical tobacco crop. How do you get ready for that? And then, when you go into planting, how do you do that? And then how do you harvest it?
We'll start seeding the greenhouses around the first week or two in February. And then about the middle of April, we'll start transplanting into the field. Around this time of the year, we'll start spraying sucker control and topping and pulling suckers. And usually in a normal year, we'll start harvesting around July 4th to the middle of July. But this year it's probably going to be August. It's going to be late this year. And we start harvesting. We don't pull any by hand, or unless it gets wet and we have to. We use machines to mechanically harvest it. We'll bring it into the barns on conveyor type trailers and buses, and run it onto a loading system that automatically puts the same in, spreads it out in each box, puts the same amount of weight in each box, and then we put it in the barn. About anywhere from 6 to 8 days later, depending on what kind of tobacco we're curing, we'll take it out, bale it in the room we're standing in now. It goes down the picking line. We clean it up the best we can, put it in bales, and then take it to the buyers at the receiving stations. And it's usually we'll pull tobacco till close to October, and this year probably be well into October. We may be pushing a frost deadline this year to get it out of the field.
Well, talk a little bit about this machine here, and tell us how these all work together.
When we start baling, we start taking it out of the barn. We'll raise that door, roll the boxes in on that conveyor, on that trolley system. It'll go up that picking line over there and goes through this tumbler. It's a sand reel that takes the sand and the small leaf particles out. We're missing one conveyor right here. We had pulled it out to put while we were running some hemp last year. But it'll come out of that tumbler onto this conveyor. This is another picking line here. We have workers on each side picking anything that don't supposed to be in the tobacco, any inferior tobacco, black tobacco, suckers, sticks, whatever might be in it. It goes into the automatic baler, and each bale will weigh around 750 to 800 pounds. And once it cuts off, and once the bale gets full, we take it out and we'll stack it in here. And then we'll load it into the van trailers to go to the market.
What made you decide to try the corn maze and grow some pumpkins? That sort of thing?
Back around 2000, I think it was, or 99, the tobacco quota system had got real low. We were down to where it wasn't hardly worth growing tobacco. They had cut our acres back so much, and then they had they done away with the quota system, and they had to buy out for the quota system, and we expanded in tobacco. But before that, we went ahead and we seen the writing on the wall. We needed to diversify, and we started with, we had been selling sweet corn for several years. In 2000, we planted our first strawberries, and in 2002, we started our corn maze and pumpkin patch. My wife had heard about it, and so we decided to do one. And the pumpkin patch and the corn maze, my brother and sister helps me out on that. We're kind of in that part together. It's just a way to diversify and let the public come to the farm and see how things really are on a real working farm. It's not like some places just kind of a made up farm. They actually get to take a hayride around this farm and see how a real working farm works with everything that's going on during the season. And it was a really good way to diversify and spread our risk out, especially in those years when we didn't have too much tobacco.
Well, what all different kinds of produce have you grown in the past, and are there types of produce that just don't really work on your farm?
Ever since probably back in the mid-90s, we were growing some sweet corn and selling it here on the farm. We didn't have a nice stand or anything. I sold it off my mom's back porch and out of the pack house down here, and we kept getting bigger every year with that.
Well, I appreciate you talking with us today. Is there any last remarks you'd like to give our audience about farming or agriculture that's going on these days?
Just remember where your food comes from. It don't come from the grocery stores. Somewhere along the line is a farmer that has grew it. And please buy local when you can.
Well, I appreciate it, John. And I hope y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.